The story of the Judge's House. It's an old and rambling house in the Jacobean style, with heavy gables and windows unusually small and set higher than customary in such houses. It is surrounded, entirely surrounded, with a high brick wall, massively built. Indeed, it looks like a fortification, and this impression is deepened by the presence on the roof of a small round tower of weathered stone, which houses an old alarm bell. The house is empty. It has been empty for many, many years. All about it there hangs an air of desolation. It stands some distance from the little town of Benchurch, in the midst of a small tract of weedy parkland. But all these things, the absolute, the unutterable loneliness of the place, only makes it seem the more desirable to Malcolm Malcolmson this year for his final examinations. He needs solitude, and that is something he will certainly find in this house, of all houses.
Mr. Carnford?
The same, sir. Carnford and Frogmore Estate Agents at your service. I'm the Carnford in the middle.
How do you do? My name is Malcolmson. Malcolm Malcolmson. You will have had my letter?
Mr. Malcolmson. Oh, to be sure. Yes, indeed. You wanted to rent the old house along the Rivington Road. Yes.
I gather it's available.
Oh, certainly. The owners will be only too delighted, I'm sure. It's a lonely old place. Of course, however...
That's exactly why I wanted, Mr. Carnford. I think I told you I'm reading for the mathematical tripos.
Of course. Yes, indeed. You wanted peace and quiet. Most necessary. Yes. If it's solitude you want, you'll find it in the Judge's house. Oh, yes.
The Judge's house, you say?
That's what they all call the old house hereabouts. Used to belong to some old judge. Terrible man, terrible. Long time ago, of course. A couple of 100 years at the very least.
I dare say he'll hardly trouble me if it was as long ago as all that, Mr. Carnford, no matter how terrible he was. Why was he terrible, by the way?
Oh, strange kind of fellow. Always getting people hanged. Very harsh. Had a kind of obsession, you know. Very cruel. As a matter of fact, Mr. Malcolmson, I might as well tell you myself before the locals gossip it out of all perspective to you. There's a sort of... well, a kind of... something. A kind of prejudice, you see.
What kind of prejudice?
Oh, nothing much. You know the sort of thing. It's been empty so long, you see, and it's so old and desolate. You know the kind of thing that grows up round places like that. To tell you the truth, that's why we're willing to let you have the place so cheaply, you see. If only to accustom the people round here to seeing it inhabited.
They won't see much sign of its being inhabited, Mr. Carnford. I'll be too busy at my books to show myself.
Oh, to be sure. To be sure. And I suppose that as a scholar you are hardly the kind to worry about these absurd prejudices.
My dear Mr. Carnford, for the next few weeks I shall be far too concerned with the mysteries of elliptical functions and harmonical progressions to worry about any other kind of mysteries. Now, if I agree to pay you, say, 3 months' rent in advance?
That would be excellent.
Then I could move in straight away, do you think? I'm anxious to start work as soon as I can.
You shall have the key this moment.
Oh, and could you perhaps recommend some local woman who could come in to keep the place clean for me and do some simple meals?
I have the very woman you want, Mr. Malcolmson. She was in here only yesterday asking if I could find any work for her. Let me see now. I have a note of her name somewhere.
Oh, and Mr. Carnford, I must get someone to bring my things up from the station.
Oh, certainly. Try Tovey and Sprott in Bridge Street. They're the best, I think.
Right.
Yes. Mrs. Dempster. That's it, Mrs. Dempster.
Mrs. Dempster?
Yes, sir?
Mrs. Dempster, I've decided to have most of my things in the dining room here.
Yes, sir.
It's big enough, you see, and I can work at the table here beside the fire. And my little folding bed will fit nicely into that corner over there.
Yes, sir. But it's not a very cheerful room for you, sir.
Oh, I dare say I shall manage, Mrs. Dempster. I'll be too busy to notice if it's cheerful or not.
Yes, sir. All them old portraits and things on the walls is pretty dull for a young man like yourself, sir. There ain't none of them what you'd say handsome, sir.
Better and better. I wouldn't want my mind distracted by a gallery of young nudes, for instance.
No, sir. I suppose not. You know what that is, sir, of course.
Some kind of bell rope, from the way it's hanging.
Yes, sir. That there alarm bell on the roof, sir. Runs right up, it does, through the ceiling. They do say... Well, never mind, it's only gossip. I remember that old bell ringing once, sir. Caused a dreadful stir in Benchurch. Dreadful. Ringing away.
You mean of its own accord?
Oh, no, sir. There was folk living in the house in them days, sir. I reckon it were about 50 year ago, near enough. I was only a girl myself. Some young folk tried it on for a lark, I suppose.
Well, I'm hardly likely to want to try any larks, Mrs. Dempster.
You might need it for other things, sir.
What, for instance?
Well, some says one thing, some says another, sir. It ain't for me to tell tales. Still, all the same, no kin of mine would sleep here of a night, sir, bell or no bell. There ain't nobody lived in his house for 50 year. Not since those young folk went away. And there's no telling why they did go away, sir.
No, indeed, Mrs. Dempster. No telling. So perhaps you had better not tell me yourself, eh? Now, have I got everything, I wonder?
A screen, sir. I reckon you'll need a screen.
What for?
Put round your bed. There's one upstairs, I'll fetch it down. It's very draughty in this big room. You'll need a screen. Though, mind you, I wouldn't like a screen myself, with all kinds of things to put their heads round the sides and over the top to look at me.
Mrs. Dempster, you're not afraid of ghosts, are you?
Well, no, sir. At least maybe not what you'd call ghosts. There ain't really such things as ghosts, I always say. Ghosts is always something else than what folks think they are. Ghosts is creaky doors and rats and mice and beetles and such. Here, look at that old wainscot round the wall there. There's rats in plenty there, if you ask me. I dare say you'll hear 'em too, of a night.
They won't disturb me, Mrs. Dempster.
No, sir. But it's different in the night. And if I was to have a screen round my bed in a room like this, with the thought of that old judge and his hangings and them rats all scampering, well, I wouldn't, sir, and that's a fact.
Yes, I'm sure you wouldn't. Well, now, if you'd be good enough to bring me a kettle and some tea things, I can get to work straight away. I keep myself going with tea in the night time, you know, Mrs. Dempster.
Yes, sir. But don't sit up too late, sir. Not good for your health.
I'll try, Mrs. Dempster. I promise you I'll try. Oh, and you'll come in the morning to get some breakfast for me, say, 8:30?
I will, sir. Well, I'll get your tea things in and leave you to it then.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Dempster. Oh, just one more thing before you go.
Yeah?
I meant to ask Mr. Comfort, this old judge that used to live here, what was his name?
Well, to tell you the truth, sir, I don't rightly know. I did hear it once. Began with a J, if I mind right. Came here from the West Country to settle down for a bit, they do say. Had to lie low or something. He was that unpopular with his hangings. A terrible, cruel man, they say.
The West Country? Oh, that wouldn't have been...
Wait now, sir. I remember. Yes. Jeffers, that was it. No. No. Jeffries. Yes. I'm sure of it. Judge Jeffries, that was the name, sir. Judge Jeffries.
Sir Malcolm Malcolmson, well pleased with the success of his plan to find solitude, settled down for his first night in the judge's house. With his books piled on the table, he put fresh wood on the fire, trimmed his oil lamp, and settled himself to a spell of hard work. He went on without a pause until about 11 o'clock, and then stopped to make himself a cup of tea. The rest was a great luxury to him, and he enjoyed it with a sense of voluptuous ease. The renewed fire leapt and sparkled, and threw strange shadows through the ancient gloomy room. He sipped his tea and revelled in the sense of his isolation. And then, only then, did he begin to notice the little rustling, whispering sound that was filling the air.
God! Rats! The place is full of rats. Old Mrs. D was right. Surely they can't have been at it all the time I was reading. I must have noticed them. They're busy enough now, at any rate. What was it the old soul said? Rats is ghosts, and ghosts is rats. Well, I reckon it's just their way of welcoming a stranger. They've been lonely for too long. That's what it is. Don't worry, my small friends. Don't worry. I've come to keep you company now. Don't worry.
He smiles to himself and picks up the green-shaded oil lamp from the table. He goes round the room, wondering that so beautiful an old house had been so long neglected. The carving of the oak on the panels of the wainscot is magnificent. The old portraits above are fine and mellow, although most of them are too heavily covered in dust for him to be able to make out much detail. Here and there he sees some crack or hole that is blocked for a moment by the face of a rat, its bright eyes glittering in the light. They seem most concentrated in numbers in the corner of the old room where the long, slender bell rope hangs down beside a great portrait, larger and more imposing than all the rest. He is looking for a chair to stand on to examine the bell rope more closely at the point where it enters the ceiling, the gathering place, as it seems, of the small, busy host of rats, when he suddenly becomes aware that, just as quickly as it had begun, the noise all round him has stopped. He stays poised in his movement, disturbed unaccountably by the sudden quiet, and in an instant, in spite of his self-possession, a tremor of uneasiness passes through him. There, on a great high-backed carved oak chair beside the fire, which in the interval has died a little, there, steadily regarding him with baleful, glowing eyes, is an enormous rat. He recovers himself immediately and makes as if to drive it away. It does not stir, but shows its great white teeth in anger, and its cruel eyes shine in the lamplight with an added vindictiveness. He seizes the poker and runs at it to kill it, but with a flashing glance that is the very essence of hate, it jumps on the floor, runs across the room, and scampers up the rope of the alarm bell to disappear behind the great portrait. Malcolmson stands in the silence, the poker in his hand, half ashamed of his fear, watching the rope still gently swaying. He shrugs and goes back to his table, and in a little while is so immersed in his studies again that the whole incident is forgotten. He works in the lamplit silence until dawn, and then, at last, worn out, he goes to bed.
Morning, sir. Breakfast.
What? What's that? Oh, it's you, Mrs. Dempster. Good morning.
I brought your breakfast in, sir. It's nearly 9. I thought I wouldn't wait much longer.
9 o'clock? Good heavens, I'd no idea. Thank you, Mrs. Dempster. Will you put the tray down there?
Looks to me as if you was overdoing it a bit, sir. Real washed out you look. Was you working late?
Late enough, I suppose.
About 5 o'clock, I think.
You wasn't worried by anything, I hope, sir? I mean, in the night?
Oh, I was all right. You had the truth of it when you said the place was full of rats, Mrs. Dempster. They had a regular circus in here last night.
Rats. Ugh. I don't hold much with rats, sir. Dirty things.
There was one wicked-looking old devil sat up in that old chair by the fire there. Then went running off the bell rope. I didn't much like the look of him.
Better take care, sir. Maybe it wasn't only an old devil. Maybe it was the old devil.
Mrs. Dempster, I believe you're not as enlightened as I thought you were yesterday. I believe you think there might be things here after all, in spite of what you said.
Well, it's all very well for you young folk to laugh, sir. It's just I don't hold with nosing into things too much. There's things it's better not to laugh at, if you ask me. Anyway, if I was you, I'd get some rat poison. Though if it was the old devil, I dare say you wouldn't get rid of him with that.
He won't worry me, Mrs. Dempster. Not when I have a good set of problems in thermodynamics to keep my mind busy. Oh, by the way, there's something I want you to do for me today. You could fit it in during my walk this afternoon, perhaps.
Anything you want, sir. What is it?
Will you dust those old portraits? I want to have a good look at them. Especially that big one there, the one beside the bell rope. Will you do it?
Yes, sir. Just as you say. If you want it, sir. If you really want it.
Malcolmson rises and has his breakfast. Outside, the weather is damp and unpleasant, and so he passes the time in further study. In the afternoon, the skies clear a little, and he goes for a walk into Benchurch by way of taking exercise. He stays rather later than he'd intended, so it's after dark when he gets back to the house. Mrs. Dempster has gone, leaving a cold supper for him on a tray. He eats it hungrily, and once more settles himself down in the great dining room for a night of hard work. This time, the scampering of the little army of rats begins earlier, and they disturb him more than they'd done the previous night. They scamper up and down and under and over. They squeak and scratch and gnaw. Getting bolder by degrees, they come out of their holes from the chinks and cracks and crannies in the wainscoting, till their eyes shine like small red lamps in the firelight. He rises to his feet and seizes the reading lamp from the table. There is a hasty scurrying sound, and the rats go scampering away and disappear. And again, as suddenly as it has begun, he discovers that the endless gnawing and squealing ceases, and he's all alone, in utter silence, his heart beating faster than normal, and as he draws a deep breath to steady himself, a long, strange thrill of fear goes through him. For the first time since Mrs. Dempster has dusted it, he's able to see, quite clearly in the lamplight, the great portrait that hangs on the wall beside the bell rope. It is the portrait of a judge, the judge, in his full robes of scarlet and ermine. The face is strong and merciless, evil and vindictive, with a dark, sensual mouth and a hooked nose like that of a bird of prey. Yet what disturbs the young man most is that the judge in the portrait is seated in a high-backed chair of carved oak beside a great stone fireplace, and behind the judge, hanging down from the ceiling, its end lying coiled on the floor, is a rope, a hangman's rope. The room in the portrait is the room in which he stands. The rope in the portrait is the bell rope. He had thought it unusually supple when first he'd seen it, the end of it worn and smooth, as if from much movement in a running noose. He swings round towards the fireplace to look at the actual counterpart of the chair in the portrait, and he recoils in such fear that the green-shaded lamp nearly falls from his hand. In the armchair, the judge's armchair, sits the enormous rat he had seen there the night before. And its eyes, as they regard him, have a peculiar brilliance, They glow with an unutterable malignance. He has seen those eyes before. They are the eyes, the identical eyes, small, cunning, intolerably evil, in the portrait above his head. For an instant he stands frozen. Then he leaps forward, his hand upraised, but the creature again forestalls him. With a sudden, swift movement, it jumps from the chair and scuttles rapidly across the room. Then up the swaying bell rope into a jagged, dark hole in the corner of the canvas of the portrait.
It is nearly 2 a.m. I should be working at my books. For some reason, I'm unaccountably nervous, and I'm unable to settle. To calm my mind, I've taken up my pen to write to you. I know I owe you a letter in any case. Outside, the wind has risen, and seems to be growing always in strength. It is suddenly strangely cold, in spite of the great fire I've built. A few moments ago I had to take a neat brandy, or I might have been unable to steady my hand to hold the pen at all. I think you know that I am not a particularly imaginative man. If anything, I can be blamed for always taking a materialistic view of things. Yet, as I sit here in this ancient room, I am oppressed with a sense of evil. You did not tell me when you recommended this old house as the very place I was looking for to find peace and quiet that there were any dark associations attached to it. When I heard strange rumors concerning it, I paid no attention to them. Even now, I try to regard them as irrational superstitions. Yet an hour ago, less than an hour ago, I found myself in the grip of mortal terror. Indeed, it is to calm my nerves from the experience that I write to you now. The house here is infested with rats. Normally I'm not afraid of rats. Indeed, at first I almost welcomed their scamperings as a little sound to keep me company in the night. But here, in this very room, I saw a rat that was bigger than any I've ever seen in my life before. And there was also a something all about it that I cannot express, but which seemed to me to be charged with evil. What impressed and terrified me most as I looked at it was that its eyes, red, dreadful eyes, were, and I must say it, however wild and strange it may seem, were human eyes. Recognizable human eyes. Above me here, as I sit at my table, is a portrait, and when I raise my own eyes to look at it, No! No! Oh my God! No!
sees, in the shrouded glow of the lamplight, 1,000,000 little eyes regarding him. From every crack and cranny, unwinkingly they gaze. He sees small, furry bodies gathered close in a circle all round him, on the high-backed chairs, on the frames of the pictures, clinging motionless along the very top of the bell rope itself. The bell rope is quickly laden with rats, yet his fear does not spring from their eyes. He does not only fear the rats, it is something else that he sees that freezes him to the spot. In the center of the great portrait above him, the portrait of the judge, is a huge, irregular patch of brown, naked canvas, as fresh as when it was stretched on the frame. The background is as before, but the figure, the central figure, has disappeared. The judge is no longer there. In the oaken chair, the chair on which had sat the monstrous red-eyed rat, sits now the judge himself. His robes of scarlet shine in the flicker of the firelight. On his head, above the evil eyes, a black cap. In his withered white hands is the supple end of the bell rope, the hangman's rope. And even as Malcolmson stares in a paralysis of fear, the monstrous, stooping figure rises, still smoothing the end of the rope in his fingers and forming it to a coil and then to a noose. And with his eyes aglow in a red flame of triumph, he advances towards the helpless figure of the student, his long, strong, scarlet arms stretched out to him.
No! Oh, God! No!
When the alarm bell of the judge's house sounds out across the countryside, a startled, huddled crowd assembles, led by an anxious Mrs. Dempster. Lights and torches appear, hurrying over the fields and through the desolate parkland. The bell still clangs as the white-faced helpers force their way into the great, dark house and move, terror-stricken, into the dining room. As they crowd in the doorway, wide-eyed and silent, they see why the bell is sounding. Swaying slowly back and forth at the rope's end is the twisted body of the young student. On the face of the judge, in the portrait beside him, is a smile of dark, malignant triumph. And now, sadly, it's time to bid you au revoir, as I return once more to the depths of Broadcasting House. Thank you for sharing my 13 stories, and a big thank you, of course, this week to David Timpson, who played the unfortunate Malcolmson, Tessa Worsley, who was Mrs. Dempster, and Norman Bird, who played the part of Carnford. The story was written by Bram Stoker, adapted by John Keir Cross, and directed by Jerry Jones. My name is Edward de Souza, your man in black, bidding you au revoir.